My fiance's sisters were my brother's bullies, so I broke up with her. Stand on business.
But fiance's sisters, like the fiance.
Yeah,
had
what did the
nothing to
fiance
with
do?
that.
I, 36 male, am an Indian living in Canada. After high school, I moved to Canada for further studies and eventually settled there. Despite living abroad, my parents back in Delhi were determined to find me a suitable match through arranged marriage.
Woo!
By the way, this comes from Lost in Spanish on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So it was during one of my visits back home that I met Priya, 33 female, and her family. I will be changing all the names for anonymity, but her name is a very common name in India. Priya's father had a distinguished military career that took their family across India, resulting in Priya attending several schools and accumulating numerous fascinating stories.
Okay, she sounds like a catch.
Yeah, she's well-rounded, worldly. We hit it off immediately, and after 2 weeks of background checks and frequent dates, we decided to get engaged. Her family seemed warm and welcoming, and I was smitten by Priya's charm and intelligence.
The only thing that is hard about that is like I feel like people can fake being like a nice person for 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
But it's really hard to do that for a whole year.
Yeah, you gotta wait a year. And also, yes, Caitlin, Von Kampen, Kamal, Nanjiani.
The stat is like whenever you're dating someone, it takes about 3 months for you to actually see who they are.
Yeah, well, I would say that. I mean, when I first, I think in all of my relationships and friends and otherwise, I think that I'm not really myself for a bit.
I feel like I don't
comfortable.
really fully know like the entirety of someone until like 2 years in.
Wow.
I would say I get a couple months in.
I mean, like I think like, but like I like what I'm saying in terms of like a life partner.
Oh, yeah.
Like obviously
fair.
you would know the person that you're dating, but in terms of like, oh, I know everything about this person, how they react in all these different scenarios, and I've seen them in enough different places. Like I've seen them traveling, I've seen them around their parents, around my parents, in all of these different scenarios that I kind of know who they are.
I think that
I feel
makes
like you
sense
get
because I
that-
think a lot of people end relationships at the 2-year marks.
Yep.
What? However, amidst our joyous plans for the future, there was a tragedy that haunted my family. My younger brother, Ankit, 33, had always been a gentle soul, sensitive and kind-hearted. Back in 2008, when Ankit was 17 years old, his small build and quiet demeanor made him an easy target for bullies during his school days in Delhi. One fateful day, the bullying reached a horrifying peak. During lunch break, they cornered Ankit in a deserted corridor, blindfolded him, and forcibly dragged him into a small closet. The narrow space triggered his claustrophobia instantly, and as they slammed the door, they laughed callously at his desperate pleas to be released. Hours passed in that suffocating darkness, and no one came to Ankit's rescue. Our parents grew frantic when Ankit didn't return home at his usual time. They rushed to the school, searching every corner until they found him curled up in a corner of the closet, unconscious and drenched in sweat. Weak, disoriented, and utterly traumatized, Ankit was rushed to the hospital. That was horrible. That's horrible. I can't imagine.
Getting locked in a locker is no fun.
I can't imagine. Like, I know that a lot of people say, oh, well, I was a kid back then, I changed. One, he's 17 years old, so presumably these kids are 17.
Yeah,
I cannot imagine
I do
doing that.
feel like, yes, like
I think people do grow, absolutely, but
it is terrible, but when you're 7, so I was locked in a locker once.
What?
In high school.
That's horrible.
But not for very long, like for maybe like 10 minutes. But it was like one of those like half ones.
Oh, they stuffed you in a half locker?
Yeah. But not like, it was more like, oh, I wanted to see if I could climb in and fit in there. And then one person just closed it and locked it. I'm like, guys, this is no longer funny.
Oh.
But I feel like those, like the same kids that I think were like bullies in, middle school and high school, a lot of these kids are just like very damaged from their
Absolutely,
own home
having
life.
their own home life.
And I don't think you really get away from that until college, and it's really hard
when you're
to
not
become
living with your parents or whoever
it's really hard to become your own person. And so I feel like I have a lot more understanding of like, wow, like these, like a lot of these kids were just super effed up and didn't have time to become their own people. And so once they're out of the house, they have the opportunity to change.
That's a really great perspective. Yeah. The days that followed were a blur of therapy sessions and sleepless nights. Ankit struggled to come to terms with the harrowing experience, haunted by nightmares and overwhelmed by anxiety. The school's investigation yielded no concrete evidence, and without identification, no disciplinary actions were taken against the perpetrators. That's
None?
ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Ridiculous. So we decided to move Ankit to a different school for his final year and eventually to Canada with me for further education. In Canada, Ankit immersed himself in his studies and personal growth, dedicating himself to fitness and therapy to rebuild his self-esteem and overcome his past trauma.
Freaking go, Ankit with the
Ankit
glow
got
up.
like ripped. He was like, no one will ever get me again.
Let me tell you, the nerdiest guys in middle school become freaking jacked. Like the amount of engineers at UCLA that were just jacked out of their minds is insane, because what you do is you apply the same level of like discipline and like math and stuff to your working out, and you just get ripped.
Exhibit A.
So, I mean, not anymore, but back in college, I was a little bit ripped.
Bro, this guy looks good shirtless. It's the truth.
Years later, as my engagement with Priya was finalized, Ankit flew from Toronto to Delhi to celebrate with our family. The engagement party was incredible, but when Priya entered the room, I noticed a sudden change in Ankit's demeanor. His face turned pale, and I recognized the familiar signs of an anxiety attack. Concerned, I guided Ankit outside to help him regain his composure, despite the interruptions from worried guests. After a few moments, Ankit whispered hoarsely, "It's her." Confused, I asked him what he meant. Ankit hesitated, then explained that Priya and her younger sister, Maina, were the ones who had bullied him in school and locked him in that closet.
Oh.
Wait, like his fiance?
His fiance.
The title was a little bit misleading. I thought it was just the sisters.
His fiance
and her sister.
Oh, I don't know if you can come back.
No.
Like, dude, if I realized that my fiance
had stuffed me in a closet.
not just like, oh, like haha stuff, but like literally given you like trauma to the point where you see her and you have a panic attack. Like, I don't know if I could marry that person.
I would absolutely not marry anyone who had done that to you. Absolutely not marry. Like, immediately no. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Ankit had mentioned a girl named Priya who had bullied him, but given the commonality of the name, I had never suspected it could be the same person.
No. Pre-vorce? Pre-vorce.
Pre-vorce.
Wait, what do we think? Put in the comments. Pre-vorce
for me,
or not?
Instant pre-vorce.
I think it's a pre-vorce for me too.
Instant pre-vorce. If this was you, instantly.
Wait. Actually,
okay, rude. You're telling me if someone stuffed me in a closet for hours and I had a panic attack when I saw them, you wouldn't instant pre-vorce?
How'd that head game go?
I need to think, because it's like, I do believe people can change and people can grow, but I also would never want to put you in a place where my partner would make, like, the very sight of my partner would strike fear. So yeah, it would probably be a deal breaker. If it was,
would hope so.
Yeah.
I would.
I was just
hope
I didn't want to speak too soon before
you're thinking it out.
I was thinking it out, but yeah, no, I don't think I could.
I don't even have to think.
Also, it's like they've known each other for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So it's like, actually, that's a really
loss.
That's an even, or maybe it's a little bit longer, but like that's okay. Sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't want. Sometimes I just say pre-vorce because I get caught up in it, but I wanted to know.
Yeah.
And everyone in the comments is gonna be like, "Oh my God, Sam, you hate your sister." Blah blah blah.
He thought about it, and now he knows.
100% pre-vorce.
Yeah. Once Ankit had composed himself, he apologized profusely for disrupting my engagement celebration. I hugged him tightly, reassuring him that he had nothing to apologize for, and quietly made the decision that there would be no engagement that day. There will be no sacrifice today. We returned inside, where the atmosphere had shifted. Priya and Maina noticed the tension and approached us. Ankit stood beside me, his gaze unwavering as he spoke up. Priya, Maina, do you remember me? Priya frowned, clearly confused. I'm sorry, have we met before? You might not remember, but I do. You made my life a living hell at school. You and Maina. Priya's eyes widened in shock while Maina scoffed dismissively. That's absurd, she retorted. We would never. Before Maina could finish her denial, Ankit continued. You locked me in a closet during lunch break. I suffered severe anxiety and trauma because of what you did. Priya and Maina exchanged glances, their faces pale.
Oh, dude, they know.
Yeah.
They know. Also, the fact that they're not immediately saying sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Is a sign that they haven't
not
changed,
yeah.
which makes me even more confident in the pre-vorce. Mindy Holder says pre-vorce.
Agreed. agreed. This was all the confirmation I needed. Priya's parents overheard the conversation and approached us. What's going on here? Priya's father demanded. I turned to face him. Ankit has just informed me that Priya and Mina were responsible for bullying him in school. He remembers them as the ones who locked him in a closet. I added, for years I wondered what kind of monsters would do such a thing to another human being, and now that they are in front of me, I cannot believe I was about to marry into this family. This cannot be true. Turning to his daughters, Priya, Mina, tell me this isn't true. Priya hesitated, unable to meet her father's gaze. Mina scoffed again. This reads like a story. Colonel stood silent for what seemed like a good 15 minutes, finally stating, they were little kids back then and didn't know any better. Now they're older and smarter, and Ankit should forgive them. I scoffed and asked, did they ever apologize? Colonel looked confused, and I continued, how can Ankit forgive someone who hasn't even apologized? Forget an apology. They don't even look sorry or remorseful for their actions.
That's the big thing. Like maybe there is
a chance for some sort of, maybe not marriage, but redemption.
Some kind of like reconciliation if they immediately would be like, oh my God, I can't believe we did that to you. I am so sorry.
Yeah, Storm Kitty says little kids, they were almost adults. Yeah, these were 17-year-olds.
Yeah.
They aren't kids anymore and should know better. Do they seem remotely apologetic to you? They almost ruined a bright student's life and couldn't even recognize him. Just imagine how many people they must have tormented back in the day that they don't even remember their victims. I cannot continue with this engagement, I declared, my voice ringing clear across the room. I cannot marry into a family that has caused my brother so much pain.
Shout out.
Stand on business.
When do you start saying that?
I don't know.
Today.
No, she
I've
said it like
before.
3 times in the last like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think who was it?
Says this?
I think like John says this.
Colonel's anger flared, directed not at his daughter, but at us. He shouted that I couldn't back out now and demanded that I marry his daughter. He questioned how I dared call his daughter a monster. I was shaken by his sudden change in behavior. I looked at my parents, waiting for them to intervene.
That's what I'm saying. You don't know these people after 2 weeks. You know, like you can put on your best face for 2 weeks. You can't do it for like 2 years.
No. When my parents didn't say a word, I was disappointed. Meanwhile, Colonel continued yelling venom at me. I composed myself as best I could and responded firmly, now you will force, nay, bully me into marrying your daughter?
Nay!
The apple does not fall far from the tree. Now I see where your daughters get their mean streak from. Oops.
Burn. That steak, well done now.
They become monsters because of your upbringing. You, Colonel, are a bully yourself!
Let the court hear it!
Guilty! With that, Ankit and I walked away, leaving stunned silence behind us.
Stunned silence?
Stunned silence.
OP is a writer.
OP's a writer.
There were
freaking explosions going off. OP put the sunglasses on.
Do. You know that one song that they do with the Walk Away song? I'm hearing that one in my head.
Okay. As we exited the venue, whispers and murmurs followed us, guests bewildered by the sudden turn of events. Priya's family faced scrutiny and questions from relatives and friends, unable to escape the consequences of their daughter's actions and Colonel's sudden change in behavior.
All right, I think one, you should, before marrying someone, you should see them for like at least a year or 2.
Yeah.
And then 2, I feel like you should see them in multiple settings. My parents said until you've traveled to like a country that's like difficult to travel in, like, you know, like a country like India or like.
I think you have to do something difficult.
Yeah, until you've done something difficult with that partner, you
and
don't
see
really
how they
know
respond to stress, and also how they respond to stress with you. Because I would say I react differently. Like I get stressed and I react differently depending on the person I'm with.
That's true.
Yeah.
If she gets stressed with me, she puts it all on me.
That is
literally
true.
100% of everything is on Sophia. When Sophia gets stressed with me, she goes like this. And then I have to take care of everything, which I'm happy to do because I love her so much. But I'm like, bro, you got to prep for that boyfriend.
I just have anxiety, man. I feel like I'm going to vomit.
Dude, just get over it. What are you talking about? Just get over it.
And Sam's like, just do this. And I'm like, that's too simple. Later that day, Priya messaged me that she did play pranks on my brother. Pranks?
That's not a prank.
That's
Did
not
you
a prank.
video it and update it, upload it
Yeah,
to YouTube?
did you say at the end of it, pranked ya?
If you didn't upload it to YouTube and say pranked ya, this was prank season greetings, then you're not.
Then you're not a freaking pranker.
You're not a prankster.
You're a disgrace to prankers all around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Play pranks on my brother in school, and that I was an a-hole for humiliating her dad that way. I left a short reply. Pranks don't leave people with depression, anxiety, and years of therapy. Never contact me again.
They never apologize. They never apologize.
They blamed it all on OP, and then Priya was like, "Oh, I actually guess I do remember, playing a prank.
Yeah, it was just a prank, bro.
Just a prank.
Just a prank, bro.
Everyone was
Absolve me.
laughing at him."
Yeah. That was funny.
Thank you. Then I blocked her and her family everywhere. All my close relatives who knew about Ankit's situation were supportive of my decision, but suggested I could have handled it better and that there was no need to talk back to Colonel. To all of them, I replied that all of my elders, my dad, mom, uncles, aunts, and granddad were present and nobody intervened. How long was I supposed to listen to Colonel's nonsense before any elder could have handled it better? They grew angry and said they were all in shock and needed more time to process. I know I am not an a-hole for canceling the engagement, but my family is making me question, am I the a-hole for how I canceled it and how I embarrassed Colonel and his upbringing? And there is an update, a little baby update.
But I feel like their response
Was
to
the
you
thi-
bringing
yeah.
it up is like so helpful in confirming that you made the right decision in a way that
Absolutely.
if you were like more diplomatic with how you ended it, you might not have that like
They might have been able to talk
vindication.
their way out of it.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
you
They might-
hadn't kind of been like,
yeah, like you put them on the spot, and I think you actually saw who they really
I
were.
agree.
So I feel like I would, if this was me, I would feel like vindicated,
Yeah.
knowing that I told the truth in like a confrontational way, but they failed every test. They
Every
had an
test.
opportunity to apologize and they didn't. They had an opportunity to like take the engagement ending with grace and they didn't. Like everything that they could have done well, they did terribly.
Yep. But that is the end of no, that's not the end. Sorry, there's an update. I lied.
Hey, yo.
I lied. I showed my parents this thread. Initially, they were upset, but after reading your supportive comments, their attitude changed and they apologized for not stepping in. But you can step in and join us live on YouTube every weekday at 3 p.m. PST. Just tap our profile.
Boop.
Today, Colonel showed up at our place when Ankit and I weren't there. He demanded we pay for the engagement party. My parents reminded him both families agreed to split the costs and that they had already paid their share. Colonel argued that since I canceled the engagement, we should cover the whole cost. Well, maybe you should cover the cost of therapy.
the anxiety, medication, and
Yeah.
therapy.
Yeah, did you think about that? My parents stood their ground, saying they met their obligations and suggested that by that logic, he should cover Ankit's therapy bills. Yes!
Yes!
For the
that's what I'm
trauma
talking
and
about.
anxiety caused by his
We
daughter's
literally
bullying.
just said that.
I swear we didn't read it.
Bro, we are
We're so, yeah.
psychic.
Psychic.
We're psychic.
Colonel got furious, leading to a heated argument, and they eventually asked him to leave and not show up unannounced again. When we got home, they told us everything. We were happy they stood firm. Mom even mentioned she got the idea about the therapy bills from a recent Redditors. And that is, for real, the end of this story.
Wow.
Boy, I think you
mean,
dodged a bullet.
Dodged a bullet. Like, I feel like, again, that's why I feel like even in arranged, I feel like arranged marriages can be good in terms of like,
Absolutely.
like your parents know you and they know the other
Yeah.
family and they want to make sure that like you vibe together. So like, I think like saying like, hey, you should start dating this person is a good idea, but I don't think getting married like in 2 weeks is ever a
Yeah,
good
I mean,
idea.
it depends culturally, but it is harder to get to know someone with
Yeah, yeah.
It's very hard.
I understand culturally there's, different expectations of what marriage is, but if you want to know if you're going to have a happy marriage,
Yeah, spending a little
2
bit more
weeks
time.
is a little bit too fast. But we got another story for you.
We got another
We got another story. We got another story. My wife invited her online friend to live with us. He's still here 9 years later.
How could you ever invite someone you met online to live with you?
He's still here 6 months later.
He's still here. My wife, 37 female, and I, 38 male, have been married for 11 years, together for a few years before that, and have known each other for over 20 years. We met online when she was just 16, going on 17, and still in high school, and I was 17 and Just starting college. For the sake of this rant, we'll call her Connie.
Connie.
By the way, this comes from a throwaway account on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So Connie and I lived several states away. And at first, there was some attraction on her part, but I just wanted to stay friends. Over several years, we grew closer and decided to have a long-distance relationship.
Ooh, you guys have a crush on each other.
And it's a long crush that
can
bridge gaps in space and time.
Crush.
I was always awkward with girls in high school, and it continued into adulthood. With Connie, things just felt natural, though. After a couple of years, when we were talking about meeting in person, she destroyed me. She let me know that she had been having multiple other online relationships, and one of these men came to meet her, and she wanted to be with him.
What?
Tragic.
What?
Tragic. Multiple online relationships.
No.
You can juggle.
You can only have one.
It can only be me.
Stop.
Looking back, the smart thing to do would have been to end the story there. Nearly a year later, though, he reached out to me saying she was sorry she missed our friendship. I decided to give friendship another chance, and for a while it worked. She had a couple other relationships. We'd talk and text regularly, but over time, old feelings, they came back. I admitted to her that I had feelings, and she said she felt the same. We decided to give things another shot. Eventually, she came to visit me, and then we would alternate visits. We talked about her coming to live with me, and she did. Wow, moving fast. Well, actually, not that fast. They were friends for ages.
They were friends for ages, but yeah, and then, okay.
She worked for a national chain store, so the plan was for her to simply transfer locations. She didn't do that. Instead, she quit. After a couple attempts at finding work, she asked if she could stay at home and take care of the house, cook, clean, etc. And I agreed since we didn't really have many expenses. She also refused to get her own bank account, instead using mine and calling everything our money. I know you have $100,000 in there, but I'm just I'll put this dollar in there, and now it's our money.
Since they're not married, and not that you have to be married to share like a bank account,
and finances.
But since they're not married and they haven't been together that long,
I'm just getting red flag after red flag.
These are giant red flags.
Giant red flags.
This is her trying to take advantage of
OP's love.
Yeah, in love.
Looking back, the red flags are so blatantly obvious, but I was young and in love. All right, remember when she decided she was going to cook and clean and take care of the house? She never cleaned. She rarely cooked. Instead, we ordered out most of the time, wasting any money I had saved. We got several pets at her insistence. She begged me for over a year to get her pregnant because she wanted a baby. I said I wanted to get married first, which is what ended up happening. She is a mooch, and she's trying to baby trap that man. When my daughter was an infant, we bought a house in order to have more space. She also wanted to be nearer to one of her World of Warcraft friends, who we'll call Aaron.
Oh no. She literally just wants OP to pay for her life so that she can go see other people.
Wait, so you shifted where you got a house so your wife could be closer to one of her online friends? Isn't the point of an online friend that you could have it online?
Stay online.
It was because of Aaron I learned of her fixating behavior. She will find a male best friend online, become besties with them, and then eventually find someone else. After Aaron, it was Roy. Roy lived further away, but was in a bad relationship with his own wife, ironic, and was thinking about unaliving. Connie begged me to let him come stay with us until he could get on his feet. This random dude, admitting she had already invited to him. Defeated, I agreed since I didn't want to make someone homeless.
I'm sorry. This is like when you invite someone to a party and then you text someone, you're like, oh, who's throwing the party? You're like, hey, is it okay if I invite this person? You've already invited them. Why are you asking? You have to ask permission first.
Do you think they're like spicy texting?
Yeah.
I think they're spicy texting. At the
Yeah,
very
they're
least,
like,
I don't know if they're sleeping together.
World
like
of Warcraft. Your
Yeah.
World of Warcraft characters. I actually don't know.
You make me
Come and conquer this.
Oh.
Yeah, come and conquer
These
this
Twin
vibe.
Peaks.
Ooh, got him.
Oh.
I'm an elf in the streets and an ogre in the sheets, you know?
About to go goblin mode.
Mm-hmm. He lived with us for a year before he was able to find a job. He's still living with us nearly 9 years later.
Oh my God.
So
OP,
he didn't have a
just
job, and now he's living 9 years later.
9 years later, your wife doesn't support you. She doesn't cook, clean, or have a job. You have a baby, and then you have an Aaron.
And you have another baby, basically. Wait.
You have 3 babies.
All right. At this point, I feel like this is on you, man.
Yeah.
Like
No,
you didn't say anything for
super
9
sucks.
years.
super sucks, but
It's your house. It's a little bit.
it's like fool me once, shame on you.
Fool me for 9 years.
Shame on me.
Shame on me.
Shame
like
on me.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's his fault.
Yes, the
It's
wife
like
is
obviously
terrible.
it's her fault, but
it's kind of your fault
but
too.
it sucks.
I feel OP's wife has a live-in boyfriend, says Radish.
3 months in, if he's not paying rent.
Kick him out.
Get
But
out.
we got
Get
more
out
to
of
this
there.
story. So, and to be quite honest, it's because of him I haven't gone completely insane yet. Connie still barely does any housework. Roy is the only one who does dishes, laundry, and yard work.
Oh, I missed it. Okay, sorry. So there was Aaron, now it's Roy.
Yeah, Roy is
Okay.
next. Roy
Got
is
you.
next. Yeah.
So Roy's the one who's lived with them for 9 years
Yes.
and is apparently a better partner than Connie is.
Yo, dude, I mean, if he cooks,
Yeah.
if he cleans,
Get yourself a Roy, I guess.
get yourself a Roy in your life. All of it. He doesn't pay rent, but Connie has access to his bank account and regularly spends his money to the point of overdraft. She just
Connie's
has two
just spending
boyfriends.
everyone. She has two. This is her harem.
How did she do that?
She literally made a harem and it
Dude,
was like,
she's just crushing it. She's just crushing it. In the interim years, I've mostly separated my money from hers. There is a bank account she does not have access to, with some savings and from which I pay our bills. If I didn't do this, she would spend me to overdraft as well. Some of my paycheck goes into a shared account for her, which she regularly overdrafts. After Roy lived here for a while, she found another man to be friends with, and the cycle continued. How are you allowing this? Like, you should leave, dude.
leave. Take
should
Roy and
leave.
leave.
We have 2 children now, and she barely spends any time with them, preferring instead to smoke the devil's lettuce, it's legal here, and play video games for the entirety of the day.
Maybe I'm just like, this is my personality. I can't imagine just playing video games every day.
Probably haven't played the right
I
video
know,
games.
but this is maybe my personality. I just couldn't imagine it.
No, I get, for me, if I watch TV for too long,
Yeah, I get,
or
like,
if I
a headache.
yeah, or if
I
I
get
like
very restless.
yeah, for me, like the only things that I can do for like every day would probably be like surfing and running.
Yeah, but those are like outside
Yeah,
activities.
I can only
which
do
totally
like those
understand.
outside activities. Sometimes she cooks. Sometimes she'll even straighten up a bit. However, she has filled my house to the brim with clutter. Every room has boxes and boxes of useless crap, some of it untouched. I knew she had mental health issues when we were dating, but they have gotten worse, and with the use of TikTok, she has weaponized them against me. Every time I criticize her for ordering stuff we don't need, such as groceries that we already have, or junk she will never use, she defends herself by saying she has ADHD and it's a symptom.
And get medication.
Yeah, like just saying that you have a thing doesn't excuse
Yeah,
you
from the action.
from doing the action.
Yeah.
It just means you can understand how to navigate
Literally.
that action. Like, I know I have massive energy swings, and so I do things to
Yeah.
regulate that.
Yes. And I know that I'm bad at scheduling, so I put stuff in my calendar.
That is true. That is true. I didn't know about Sam's, but that is true with Sophia.
What do you mean? You know when I'm tired and stuff?
I guess I didn't know, I guess I didn't identify it.
Yeah. I got massive energy swings. And so I've curated my life to navigate that. And that's what you should do too. If you know you have ADHD, do something about it instead of letting it run rampant through your life. She probably does have it, but she's undiagnosed. She won't go to a psychiatrist for it. Her medical doctor prescribed her antidepressants, which have helped, but not with everything. And the thing is, I have plenty of friends with ADHD. They view it as part of them, which needs to be addressed and worked around / through. She sees it as an excuse to do whatever she wants without consequences.
Yeah. No, it's an explanation, not an excuse.
Yes. Bam. Yeah, you can't say, oh, like, sorry, I'm a dick. I have
I have
ADHD.
ADHD.
No, you be like, hey, I'm sorry I'm a dick.
I'm going to try
I'm
and work
working
on
on
this.
it. Yeah. And now that I know that I have ADHD, I'm going to
can
put it in my
find-
calendar
yes.
so I don't forget things, stuff like that. Recently, we went,
Hey, I
I'm
feel
not,
like that was
it sounds like I'm adding Sophia. Sophia has not forgot anything in particular that I can know of
well,
right now.
Like, they didn't really affect anyone but me.
Anyway, recently we went on vacation and she asked if her latest friend, who was recently divorced and looking for jobs in our area, could stay at our house while we were away, though Roy would be there. So she's adding another dude to her harem.
No,
Oh my
squatters
God.
exist.
I
Literally.
agreed.
Oh my God. Jonica says Roy and Connie have squatters' rights now. OP, move in the
That's
shadow.
true.
Wait,
also,
Yeah, because it's like 5 years.
OP, grow a backbone.
He
Come on.
agreed?
Grow a freaking backbone.
on.
Yeah. OP said, I agreed since it felt bad to make him spend several $1,000s a week on a hotel room.
Several thousand a week?
Bro, this is on you. I
It's
mean,
on
if it's in
you.
New York, maybe it's like if it's in New York and they have a fancy place, maybe. But several thousand a week is crazy for anywhere, unless you're like getting a fancy place. He's still here, and it's been weeks. He's done some Zoom interviews and occasionally does DoorDash to make extra cash, but he's still here. We'll call him Joe. Connie and I have hit a breaking point and are talking about divorce.
Finally. Jesus.
It's only taken 9 years.
I'm just going to take all your money in the divorce.
After a long conversation, she's admitted she sees nothing wrong with her behavior and finds it aggravating that I try to fix her. I realize then there's nothing more for me in this relationship anymore. She's also admitted to having feelings for Joe, and he is in love with her. The problem now is money. We have $60,000 left on our house and just bought a new car. She wants to keep the house and the car when we split. What? I'm fine with this because I'd rather live somewhere that isn't full of garbage and I don't drive, but she can't pay for them, and no bank in their right mind would give her a loan to buy me out. If they did, she couldn't pay for it on her own. Either Roy or Joe, both would be paying for it. I want to be done with this relationship so badly, but I feel like I'm trapped here. My kids love their school. Oh, they have kids, right? And I don't want to make them move. I'm more than happy to get my name off the house and the car, get some money from the equity, and just start over. It would be great to take my kids each weekend and do actual things with them, but I don't see a path to get there. I feel trapped in my own house, which is becoming increasingly full of my wife's pets, both human and otherwise, and all of her garbage. There is more to this story, but by the way, you can join us every weekday at 3 p.m. PST right here on YouTube. Just tap her profile. Even though I want out, I still love Connie in a way, and I don't want to hurt or destroy her, even though it's probably better than what she deserves. I mean, I feel like this relationship is done, but I think you have more ownership of the house.
Absolutely.
Than you're
You're
giving
paying
yourself.
for everything. She's paid for nothing. You can absolutely get the house.
And it's not like she's done a good job at like taking care of the house or the kids or
No.
anything. She's just
What is she
gotten.
doing?
men
It doesn't
to
seem
live
like
with
she
her.
seems like a terrible parent
Yeah.
and partner.
She first broached the topic of divorce, but now she gets sad regularly thinking about it and
She's
is confused
realizing that all
at
of
why
the
I'm
money
often
that she
so
had.
upset with her. Yeah, that's
Like,
why
oh
she's
no,
sad.
my money. Wait a minute.
I'll just be taking Roy's money. That's not enough.
Yeah, dude. Roy's just doing DoorDash. I need OP's freaking money. All of the stress of having her and Roy and Joe and 2 young children is eating away at me, and I feel ashamed of the divorce. Ashamed that I couldn't fix her. Ashamed that I couldn't put my foot down and say no. Ashamed that there are multiple people living in my house that I don't want here. I haven't told my extended family or friends yet, though I am going out with a friend tomorrow and plan to tell them. And we haven't told the kids either. It's all eating me up inside, but just typing this out has helped. I hope it wasn't too bad of a read, and I hope we can get through this situation sooner rather than later. And that's where this story ends. So, Sophia, what do you think you should do?
Oh my God. Eve.
Leave as soon as possible. Leave
Get
as soon as
out
possible.
of there. Why are you still there? This is ridiculous. Literally ridiculous.
Take equity out of the house. Give her as much as it takes to get her off your back.
Yeah, and then
Without
leave.
giving her more, and just leave. Also, do you guys like our new OK Storytime phone case? Ooh, kind of cool, yeah.
But let's get into this next story. I told my wife she doesn't do enough in our relationship. Now I'm a single parent.
Get wrecked.
Yikes. I, male 43, try to do my best to provide for my wife, female 38, and 2 kids, 3, 5, as well as my mother-in-law, and would like to think I'm doing a decent job.
You'd like to think, wouldn't you?
You would like to think that. By the way, this comes from Constant Barnacle 992 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So over the years, I worked to improve our family's living situation. Not only did I complete another bachelor's and recently master's in a STEM-related degree, I, at the same time, worked 2 full-time jobs while completing my second bachelor's and put my wife through school as well.
Wait,
Wow.
you put your wife through school, STEM-related degree, 2 full-time jobs. Like, man is doing the most.
With 2 kids.
With 2 kids, yeah.
She completed a degree where she could make good money in a healthcare field that always has jobs available. But with the birth of our 2 kids, she has since given up on her career to be a stay-at-home mom for the time being. Again, this has to be such a detailed conversation that you have with your partner if you want to be a stay-at-home parent.
Mm-hmm.
And it
You
sounds
both have
like
to- yeah.
sounds like she was going to healthcare, maybe turned into a nurse, and guess who has the highest rate of
Cheating.
infidelity?
Nurses.
Uh-oh. At first, it was a struggle while I was finishing up my master's. Once I completed it, after our youngest turned 3, my career took a jump up and we are now able to afford our single income household in a more feasible manner. We're far from rich, but do okay for a single income family of 4. The past year, life was overwhelming for my wife. So even though I now work 75% from home, I budgeted to hire a daytime nanny to help her around the house with one child while the other is in school now. My day starts every day around 5:30 to 6 a.m. I get the house ready for the day before the nanny comes at 8 a.m. I get our oldest up and ready for school, breakfast made, and plan out my day, bring our oldest to drop off, and be home in time to let the nanny in. What is the mom doing?
Who knows?
Staying at home.
My most recent task at work has me grounded for the next 2 months, meaning I am now 100% work from home. While this is nice, I am busy in meetings all day as my role manages teams on a global scale as I oversee projects from my industry. For the past 1.5 months, I realized my wife, as much as she says her life is stressful at home, starts at 10 a.m. I asked my mother-in-law and nanny if this was always the case a week or so of work from home, and they both responded more or less. Sometimes earlier, sometimes later. My wife literally wakes up and cooks and then scrolls through her phone or shops from home, which brings me to my gripe.
So she's doing nothing.
She's not. It doesn't.
She's
seem like
doing
she's
nothing.
anything. I am glad I am able to provide her that sort of life since we both grew up lacking in means. I get the possibility of postpartum depression, the stress of having kids, the feeling of being unfulfilled, the fact that I probably am a crappy husband, but for what it's worth, everything is taken care of and then some. I manage the house's finances. She claims she was too busy to do so. Pay all the household bills. I pay my own personal bills. I pay her bills, track and perform all the upkeep of our house appliances, cars, pets, etc. And I also help pay for my mother-in-law's medical bills and car note. Wow. OP is doing so much.
What kind of job do you got, dog?
OP's a single parent.
OP is OP is effectively a single parent.
Yeah. But his systems must be great.
Yeah.
To do all
to be
of
able
that,
to do all
to be able
of
to do
this?
that, he's probably has top tier systems.
You send us your SOPs, please.
Yeah. Send us your Notion.
But apparently my life is on easy street compared to hers. I can't decompress to her because it seems like she always feels the need to one-up me. I had a bad day, but she had it worse because I'm lucky I gotta go away and work. What?
What do you mean?
What?
You could do that.
Yeah, you could do that too.
You could get a job.
Get a job. My feet hurt from walking all day during work travel, which is nothing compared to her standing and cooking with a child clinging to her. For the past 2 or so years, I've been told I ruined her life, her opportunities, etc.
No. Okay. Get out of there.
Get out of this. If you're
She's trying to blame you. She's trying to blame you for her own
feeling
mental
guilty
decline.
and feeling like she is not doing stuff with her life. And
Yeah.
that is her own cross to bear.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if she does feel that way, then it, as partners, you could work out a solution instead of her just blaming you.
Mm.
But when I reminded her of what she says, she denies and dodges accountability. My mother-in-law has brought me aside and stated she's noticed a change in both myself and my wife. I have a greater attachment to my kids, and hell, I've hugged the dogs and talked to them more about my life than to my wife.
Oh, that's so sad.
This is really sad. This is so sad.
Oh.
I honestly feel like I'm in emotional survivor mode as I'm one step from moving up the career ladder and one step away from finding love and comfort from the bottom of a whiskey bottle.
I think OP has known for a while this relationship isn't working, but doesn't necessarily have the courage to leave
it.
And it's not, that's not a dig on him. It is a hard thing to.
This is nothing like the first or that second story.
No.
This is OP has 2 kids, is providing everything.
He's trying to make it work, but this is just so obviously not working. And maybe in writing this, OP will realize that. you know?
Realize that this is kind of a lost cause now. I'm sure I'll be hearing from the manly men of Reddit about how I'm simping, but I'm not a machine. I just want to know and feel that someone I prioritize aside from my kids appreciates and loves me for what I do. I'm sure I'll hear from the stay-at-home moms of Reddit, which is fine. I grew up in a single-parent mother household. It's not easy. And honestly, with the help of her mother and a nanny Monday through Friday for one toddler while another child is at school, can you honestly tell me she's having the typical stay-at-home mom experience? Because neither my friends or colleagues who are single parents can say she is. I'm sure the masses of holier-than-thou Redditors will consider this a poorly written fanfic, but it is what it is. And you can be a holier-than-thou Redditor by joining us live on YouTube every weekday at 3 p.m. PST. Just tap our profile.
Also, Jonica says maybe she's depressed, and we all do have an update into here. But just because she's depressed doesn't mean she
gets to put it on
gets
OP.
to be absolved of everything she's doing. Like, it sounds like OP has been taking care of this for
the brunt of
a while.
everything.
And like, if you are depressed, then it's like, and which maybe she is, but it's probably more situational where she's like not doing anything with her life.
Yeah.
And like she's allowed herself to become lazy and complacent because she has no responsibility, and in some ways OP has enabled that behavior by just doing everything for her. Not to put blame on OP, but like that's like over time she's sunk.
What she's
this is the dynamic that has appeared.
come to expect.
So I think yes, she might be depressed. But honestly, for OP's sake, who cares? Like, I think, like, I know that's tough, but like, if she's not doing anything to it, if she's not bringing it up,
if it is harming OP's mental health, then and it's worth it for OP to leave.
She's not doing anything to
not
help.
Contributing, not being a team player.
Yeah, I think there is a possibility that he could have a conversation and say, are you depressed? Is there something else contributing to this? Because I cannot live like this anymore.
Yeah, maybe the Hail Mary is like, hey, I'm thinking about leaving. Are you depressed? If you are, let's get you the help you need.
Yes.
Because right now, what this is, I'm not going to do.
I will. I'm
not going to do anymore. And Zari Pasach says postpartum is difficult, though.
Absolutely.
But we also don't even, it's a big conjecture. Like,
it really is dependent. But right now, I think they need communication desperately because it cannot keep going like this. There is an update, though. Not sure if anyone read this, but thank you for those who have reached out and chit-chatted. While I know I've kept my newfound friends here updated, I figured I'd just update my post and keep it short. I showed my wife my post the following weekend and she read it and all the comments. Long story short, argument. She left our house to stay with her sister and I've been a single parent since.
You already were a single parent.
Yeah, they put it in single parent in quotes. Sad to say, aside from the good nights to our kids, it's all pretty much the same routine. Nothing much else to say other than thank you for all the kind words of encouragement.
I feel like OP through his writing, it just sounds he's very defeated. He's like
very defeated.
He's like, I have an update for anyone who cares to read it.
He left. It's the same.
Yeah. Kay says they have communication issues mostly on her side. They need therapy. Yeah, yes. 100%. Frederick, the murder fly, says you can be depressed without belittling your partner's suffering and trying to one-up them when they need to vent. Yeah, there's a difference between being depressed and then being cruel. And I feel like she's doing a combination of the both.